We thank you for joining us on the Southern Fried Podcast as we honor the U.S. Veteran of the Week, Lieutenant Colonel Rod Coffey. We also thank those who sent us the information so that we could honor this soldier. Along with the picture and the name, there was an article that was sent to us that was written in the New York Times and sums up our veteran this week. The article begins by saying wars often produce iconic images that capture the naked truths of the struggle. 5 Marines raised the American flag at Iwo Jima. A South Vietnamese general calmly fires a pistol into the head of a suspected Viet Cong militant during the Tet Offensive. A Huey evacuates Americans from a roof in Saigon in the spring of 1975. Our image of our experience in the United States Army during the Iraq War stands out. It is a photograph of our squadron commander, then Lieutenant Colonel Rod Coffey, holding a captured flag. The flag is now the widely known Black Banner of the Islamic State, also known as ISIS and ISIL. The photograph was taken by one of Colonel Coffey's soldiers in March 2008 after American forces completely defeated insurgents in a portion of the Yala province. Colonel Coffey stands with the flag in his right hand, his trademark cigar dangling in his left, and the look of a man resolved to defeat militants whose barbarism today is ever so disturbingly documented by the media. The flag is not unique to the Islamic State. Variations of the Black Banner adorned with the declaration of faith known as the Shahada are used by other Islamic extremists. However, there is little doubt in our minds that the enemy of our unit fought and defeated that winter would eventually become part of the Islamic State. Our unit found the flag near a mass grave site and an insurgent training camp. Our unit, 3rd Squadron, 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment, then spent several days assisting Iraqi families and properly burying their dead. This is one of the many actions Colonel Coffey and our unit embraced to build trust with the Iraqis who had previously lived under the tyranny of the militant Islamists. Once sufficiently powerful American forces were in place to allow the people of Iraq to defy the extremists, Colonel Coffey worked closely with the senior sheiks and political leaders to maintain the peace. He often told his men that the greatest weapon they wielded in the fight was decency. Like many of his subordinates, Colonel Coffey was on his 2nd deployment to Iraq. He received a Silver Star for his actions in the initial thrust of American forces into Baghdad, known as Thunder Run, in 2003. The colonel was a rugged man set against a desolate environment, but also a cerebral student of military history, the art of counterinsurgency, and the writings of Thomas Hardy. At the time, the black flag was not as iconic a symbol as it had become in the last year with the Islamic State's successes in Iraq and Syria. However, the capture of that flag was a moment of victory that recalls previous wars in which tangible evidence of an enemy's defeat was more prevalent. The enemy our unit faced sought to fight the superior Americans asymmetrically with improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, snipers, and hit-and-run tactics. Earlier in the deployment, Colonel Coffey's unit was handpicked to clear a neighborhood of Baghdad that the Los Angeles Times called Al-Qaeda's Alamo. During the end of the Surge campaign, we lost 6 soldiers during that successful operation that served in many ways as a coda to the American military surge operations in Baghdad. In Diyala province, our unit would lose 6 more service members and a faithful Iraqi interpreter after insurgents rigged a house to explode when American soldiers searched it. As Colonel Coffey was a student of military history, the symbolism of capturing the enemy's colors was gratifying to him, a fitting tribute to his fallen brethren. Although the Islamic State seeks to portray itself as an impressive military force, the insurgents we faced did not put up much of a fight when met with a well-coordinated offensive. Instead, they sought to dissolve into the populace. The barbarity of the Islamic State regularly displays is not unfamiliar to American service members who had the unpleasant experience of encountering its antecedent in Iraq. More important, we know from our experiences that it can be defeated. The Islamic State's military successes of the past year should be seen for what they are, fragile and reversible. Soldiers do not choose their wars. Our grandfathers' mandate in World War II was clear and just. As we reflect on our war and the friends we lost, images like this help to vindicate our fight. While policymakers debated and realized that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, hundreds of thousands of service members protected Iraqi civilians against violence and chaos. What was clear back then, and even more so today, is the inhumanity of groups like the Islamic State and their tendency to cower and flee when faced with an organized force. When deciding what to do with the captured colors, Colonel Coffey followed an unspoken code of quiet honor and dignity that American soldiers from Valley Forge to Gettysburg to Normandy would easily identify, acknowledge, and respect. Instead of mounting the flag in a trophy case behind glass, he presented it to the local Iraqi security forces. The simple gesture served as a symbol of shared sacrifice and a reminder of the threat to Iraqi liberty, a threat that has now been confronted by the Iraqis themselves. Today, again, we salute Lieutenant Colonel Rod Coffey, an American hero. Let's pray for their families. Let's today give quiet reflection and appreciation for the acts of bravery and duty and honor and sacrifice for the cause of freedom. We thank you for watching today. God bless.